Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and welcome to the brand new iniBuilds and WorkingTitle Boeing 707-300C. C stands for convertible, meaning that the airplane has both a passenger as well as a cargo cabin located in its main deck. Today we are going to do our first flight a little bit in a review style over here, looking first at the outside model, then we're going to look at the inside, and then we are going to have a look at the flight characteristics on a real-world Pan Am Flight 817 from San Francisco to Honolulu, and then the real-world flight would continue on to Tokyo after a little fuel stop, but that's gonna be for a dedicated separate video. So let's go ahead and get started over here, and we're going to start with a look at the external model. Now the plane comes from Marketplace at a price point of just about $20, so really good pricing over here, and well, for that we get an amazing model. So if you look at the nose gear and the level of detail over here, you can very clearly see that this has been developed by iniBuilds, as it's really the kind of level of detail that we absolutely came to expect from them. Lovely modeling of the pitot and TAT probes over here. Well, no AOA vanes or anything the likes here, because, well, this is not your modern computer style aircraft. What's also really fantastic to see is the wing over here. Look at how large of a wing this is. You can really see that technology and aerodynamics were in a bit of an infancy back in the time when the 707 was developed, as you can really see how massive that wing is in order to lift some fairly light comparable aircraft. Nonetheless, modeled at an amazing level of detail. We can even see things like the slats droop over here with a lovely level of detail actually simulated inside them. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the Pratt & Whitney JT3D engines that are attached to this airplane. They are low bypass turbofans, something that we're not too used to anymore nowadays. Low bypass turbofan actually means that most of the air that you suck in on the front over here is going to be routed through the core of the engine, so through the combustion chamber rather than next to it. And that's also part of the reason why those engines are so incredibly long over here when compared with a more modern high bypass turbofan engine. Beautiful modeling. You can see the outlet of the bypass air over here, which is of course also used to cool the engine, and absolutely fantastic modeling inside and out. Now let's also have a very quick look at the main landing gear, which is built to again a fantastic level of detail, especially considering that this is a $20 add-on. Beautiful modeling over here, also in the wheel well and the entire area, and well, also take in those massive flaps over here. You won't believe what they are gonna look like when you land with a flap 50 setting. Now, let's go ahead and make our way upstairs, and then we're gonna get inside and see what the 707 looks like on the inside. And once again, I can already spoiler, it is a fantastic model. We're boarding through the aft galley, and you can see we've got a rather small passenger cabin over here. 114 seats, 4 of which are first class seats, and the area in front of that is a cargo area. In the back over here we do have our galley. You also have the light controls that you can operate down here inside your galley, and then you also have the toilets located in the back of the aircraft, and again you can open the doors. That's lovely kind of stuff that you expect from an iniBuilds model. Alright, so let's go ahead and close that up and start having a look into the passenger seats. Now this is 1960s era, so don't expect anything more comfy than a Ryanair seat, but nonetheless, have a look at that. Legroom, I tend to say, is okay for a long-haul aircraft, and just taking a seat over here, have a look at the lovely detailing that we find on the walls, on the seats over here, and also on the cushions and everything you find over here. Also note that you can open all of those window shades over here. You can custom control those, and the window itself also looks phenomenal with a very nice level of detail added over here. Kind of similar to what we've seen in the iniBuilds Airbus A340 already. Now those shades can be operated automatically. We'll look into more of those options later on. Now also note the overhead lockers over here and how the entire airplane looks like. I mean, this is just fantastic, isn't it? Now, going further up to the front, this is what first class seats look like. more comparable to nowadays premium economy, but just want to give you a quick tour of those. And well, this is what it looks like and feels like to sit in the front over here. You will notice that little wall, and this wall could actually be moved in the real-world aircraft so that you could extend and compress the passenger cabin as needed for your particular type of operation. Also note the fantastic view on the engines that we've got in the back over here. Now, going further up front, we have this door leading us into the cargo compartment. So let's open that up and try to get through those invisible walls located in the cabin over here and into the cargo compartment, and this is what it looks like. You got the cargo door on the left hand side over here. No door controls or anything modeled inside the cabin, at least inside the cargo cabin. Can put a couple of containers here, and you will be glad to hear that you are actually going to see those containers by the time that we actually load the airplane. Moving further up front then, we get into the crew area, and again we do have a galley located up here. Remember, theoretically the airline could take that entire cargo compartment out and forward the passenger cabin all the way to the front over here, and then we do have a couple of seats for the crew to rest. We do have a toilet in the front, and we do have a little Mile High Club lounge located over here where there is just nothing else in there. So that thing can definitely only have one sense. 2 jump seats in the cabin here as well, and now let's make our way up into the flight deck. Now, when have you last seen a flight deck door that actually has a window like this in it? Definitely been a while. Looking into the flight deck then, we do have 5 stations located in the flight deck. We've got the 2 pilot stations, then we have the flight engineer located on the side over here, and we have a navigator station located on this side over here. Now, the 707 does come with 3 different cockpit variants, and today we're going to fly the variant that was most commonly flown in the 707 era, and that's the one equipped with an INS. A version that just features radio navigation, as well as a version that features a flight management system, are also included in the package, and all of that comes at $20. Quite amazing, isn't it? Now, let's go ahead and have a very quick look around our flight deck before we get started over here. So let's take a seat on the captain's seat, and well, we do have an overhead panel which is fairly heavily focused on communications equipment everywhere over here. You got the cell call, you got your HF radios, then you got a lot more stuff than light controls. I mean, how much of a light panel is that? You can really see that you don't have many system controls located on the overhead panel. Going up to the main panel then, it's pretty much standard stuff with your standard T flight instruments over here. Then you've got your engine instruments, you got a weather radar that is actually functional down here, and then you got the radios as well as the autopilot and flight director controls located on the pedestal. Going over to our flight engineer station then, let's actually move that seat backwards a little bit so that we got a bit more space over there. Our flight engineer station features the typical stuff that you would expect over here, starting with the electrical panel on the top left, then we got the air conditioning and pressurization on the top right, on the lower left we got the fuel, and then we got the engines on the lower right, and the hydraulics at the bottom to kind of make it simple over here. Finally, the navigator station is something that's not really going to be needed anymore. This would mainly be used in the day and age where an INS or let alone an FMS would not have been in an airplane, and over here you would have had stuff like a LORAN. Yeah, that's original 1950s navigation technology, and that kind of stuff. That up here is not ADF, by the way, and then you would have, you know, basic instruments to do basic navigation, especially dead reckoning when crossing oceans. Alright, so that's our flight deck. Let's go ahead and return to the captain's seat and have a look at the next interesting feature over here, and that's the electronic flight bag. Now you can already see that this is basically your default MSFS electronic flight bag, and it has its dedicated Boeing 707 app. I gotta say, I like the fact that they went with this particular EFB over here, and that's because it means we got stuff like the Navigraph charts right on here, which we can use for our navigation, so that's pretty useful stuff. Now, today we are gonna start on the Boeing 707 app, which comes dedicated to the aircraft. In here you do have your automatic flight engineer flows, and as you can see, you can automate pretty much anything that the flight engineer would actually be doing in the real aircraft. You also have some automatic monitoring there, where the flight engineer is going to manage your fuel, is going to control the fuel temperature, select sources for cabin pressurization, and set your engine box. So that's really nice stuff that you got down there. Alright, from there you got the CIVA INS page, and if you have loaded the flight plan in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you can load that in here, and then you have different possibilities to load your route into the INS automatically update the waypoint, and that kind of stuff, so that the INS navigation becomes really easy. Then you can control the doors in here. You have a takeoff and landing data card, which automatically calculates your thrust settings, your takeoff and landing speeds, the required runway, and so on. So that's really cool. And finally, you do have some options that you can set. So you can control the theme of the app between light and dark. You can select the altitude selector mode between an alerter and a pre-selector. If you go for pre-selector, that the airplane's gonna level off at that altitude down here. If you just go for the alerter, then you'll have to fly the level off by manually controlling the pitch. Then you got some more stuff that you can control down here, like the HSI. You got a couple of options down here, basically. Now, that's the 707 app that's available with the aircraft. Well, I'd say that was our little tour of what the airplane comes with, what the airplane can do over here. Gonna keep this one on the bright theme, and then let's go ahead and actually go and fly for a little bit. So we're gonna fly from San Francisco to Honolulu, Pan American Flight 817. Let's go ahead and load that thing up on the SimBrief dispatch page, and that's going to bring us our flight plan. Going down here, we do have, well, basically standard stuff. Let's just go down to the flight maps. This is what our route of flight looks like, pretty much a straight route that we are going to fly. The significant weather chart is completely clear, and then all we're going to need is the weather. So our arrival in Honolulu has a fantastic forecast, a little bit gusty as it always is over there, but apart from that, pretty good. And then our alternate is looking pretty much the same. So very good weather conditions for our flight. Then let's just go ahead and have a look into our fuel section. So we need 75,300 pounds, and then let's go ahead and load the airplane up, which we actually got to do through the EFB down here as well. So we're at 114 seats, and if you move the quick fill button, you're just controlling seat by seat, so that's pretty cool. For our cargo, we are going to load 10,000 pounds of cargo up here, and then we can head into the fuel section, and over here we do want pounds, and yeah, let's just take 80,000 so that we got a little bit extra over here. Alright, load aircraft, load that thing immediately, and once this is done, you can actually already see the cargo located back here, and that lovely kind of stuff. What you don't see by default is passengers. That's something they have not implemented, but nonetheless, very nice to see the cargo containers over here. Overall, some pretty nice stuff. Well then, let's go ahead and close our door, provided I can find the handle. There it is. Then we can close this up. Let's make our way back up to the flight deck, and then we're going to start our airplane up and get her flying on our way to Honolulu. Alright. Close that door a little early. And since we only got crew at the front over here, I guess we can keep this one open. Even though probably gonna shut it, because that thing doesn't seem to be secured anywhere. And the last thing you want is a metal door to shut close while you're in the takeoff run. Okay, cool. So our fuel is loaded. Then we got that stuff. So let's go right into our procedures. There is a 240-page manual included with the aircraft that you can use to get yourself familiar with it. And if you do not want to bother with all of those switches in the conventional cockpit, then you can simply use the automatic flight engineer to make that stuff a little bit simpler for you. Alright, today we are going to do all of that stuff manually though. So starting our safety inspection, the emergency flap selector is guarded. The landing light switches are off and the landing gear is down. The radar mode selector is off, transponder is off. Then the galley power switch is off, our AC hydraulic pumps are off, and the fuel dump panel cover is closed. So our circuit breakers, lots of them in this airplane, are all closed, and then we can just jump back onto the flight engineers panel over here and start our power up. So the radio master switches located on the top over there are off, the external power switch is off, then we can turn the battery on. Our voltage is checked, and then we can move right to the fire tests. Let's go ahead and do that and that. And with the fire tests out of the way, let's go ahead and start the APU, which is located down here. So we're going to turn that one on and onto the starter. APU starts running up. And while that's happening, we can already select the essential power onto the APU. We can go to the APU down here as well. And, well, we could use the ground power unit. We're not going to use it today because we will be using the APU as it's a little warm over here, and we do want some air conditioning as well. Okay, so the APU has started. Generator is coming online, and we can already see our gauges come to life over here. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and turn the radio master switches on. And that's the initial power up from the flight engineer station completed. So let's jump up to the captain seat, and then we're gonna start with the INS, which we're gonna switch to Airline. And then we need our gates coordinates, which we do not have written anywhere here. So let's go right down into the EFB, onto the Navigraph chart app, and we are going to grab our charts over here. I am using Navigraph because, well, Jeppesen was a thing back in the day, and therefore it's just easiest to use those over here. Also note that Jeppesen charts, in my opinion, are a little bit easier to handle with conventional navigation, so we are going to be using this today. Alright, so starting on the airport charts, then we want to go for the taxi charts, and we're parking at gate Golf 9. So let's get our parking gate and coordinate chart like this, and now we're looking for boarding area Golf. And Golf 9 got the coordinates down here, so north 3737-1. So let's make sure we're on position. Here we are, so 3737-1, insert. And then we've got a west coordinate of 122.23.6. Like that, insert. Alright, and now we can go onto the status, and that number here is counting down, and when this reaches basically 2, we can switch the INS and a nav, and the ready nav light is going to illuminate at that time as well. Alright, so that's our initial INS alignment in progress. Then we can test the Mach overspeed, we can test the Mach trim, which is looking good, and then we just start our panel scan flow. So I'm just going to leave the lights mostly as they are over here. Captain instrument panel is going to come up. So we got that stuff guarded, anti-ice switches are off, and then moving to the second part over here, there isn't anything there. Emergency light switch on, seatbelts and no smoking's on, yaw damper on. And then moving up on the right hand side over here. So we got our first officer instrument panel, which we're going to turn up. We're going to turn the flight recorder on. Then we are going to put the window overheat switches into the low position. Make sure that all those lights are operative. We are gonna check the window. We are gonna check the pitot heat tests, which are all operative. Nav lights coming on, and that's it on the overhead panel. Moving down to our main panel, then we do have a couple of things here. The keyless altimeter correction is turned off down here. Everything is set onto our side. On the left hand side, everything is checked. Then we're gonna check the radio altimeter, which looks good. The marker lights, well, not simulated down there, that's fine. And everything looks good over here, and everything looks good over here. Moving down then, we've got our weather radar, which we can already set to 5 degrees above. Transponder off and 2000. Moving further down then, we reach our radios. And I'm gonna keep those untouched for the time being. The autopilot is off on manual with the turn selector on the 12 o'clock position. Flat rector switches, we can go on to a 10-degree pitch up there, and we'll do the rest later on. ADS not needed, trims centered, and that's basically everything looking good down here. Alright, with that our front panel is checked, so let's now move on to the Flight Engineers panel again. Over here we are just gonna start at the very top. Galley power is coming on. Down here everything's looking good. Moving further down, everything is looking good. For the fuel system, we are gonna test the forward fuel pumps of any tank where there is fuel in there, and those are operating just fine. Then we're gonna test the aft fuel pumps, and that's looking good as well, and we're gonna leave one aft pump on for the APU. Then let's test all the crossfeed valves, operating just fine, looking good. Then we can test our fuel gauges, which are looking good as well, and we do have 80,000 pounds of fuel on board, which is sufficient for our flight. Fuel liters are off. Moving down to the hydraulic system, down there we got a couple of things to do for us, and we are gonna start this one. We're gonna start this one down here. So the engine pumps are on, the shut-off valves are guarded. Then we got the brake interconnect valve, which we are going to turn on to brake. Then let's turn the auxiliary pump 2 on. Low pressure light should extinguish. Pressure is building, looks good. Off. Now system number 1. And that's working as well. And now we move to the front. Release the park and brake. Set the park and brake. And you can see how the system responds to that. So that's all looking good. Alright, then we can turn the interconnect back off. Moving up to the engine vibration, which is set to differential, that's looking good. Then we can move on to turbulence mode, and that's looking good. Alright, moving further up. Let's test our oil quantity gauges, which are all looking good. And then we're moving down to the side, where we can enter our flight number, which is going to be 817, and I'm recording this on the 14th. Alright, door warning test is looking good. Oxygen mask, supply on 100%. Well, no reaction there. We should have heard something, but that's okay. Lights, panel lights, yeah, we can turn those up. Background lights as well. All looking good. The interphone is switched off for the time being. So, cruise level, we'll be starting in flight level 340, so let's set that up. Here we go, and then we set an additional 2,000 feet, like this. Alright, so the outflow valves are closed. If we switch it to landing, they're opening. Perfect, so that's looking good. Alright, and finally our air conditioning units are switched off, and that's all looking good back here. Alright, so that part of the setup is completed, so let's return back up to the cockpit, and over here we can start entering our flight plan. So let's take that EFB out of the holder, which we can do like this. Move down into the SimBrief dispatch, and now we can start entering our plan. Alright, so we're gonna start with the Gunner 3 departure. So let's go on to the waypoints down here, like this. Waypoint number 1. And now we're basically just entering all those waypoints by their coordinates. So we're starting with Gunner, which is in 3740.5 north. Insert, and then the west coordinate is 122.32. Alright, and insert. So that's waypoint number 1. Then we got BPOP on 37000. And the west coordinate 125.001. Insert. Then we continue towards BART, and that's at 3627.7. And 126.56.0. Alright, and with that we are already oceanic. So next up is going to be Barris at 34014. And 134.28. Okay, and then we're gonna move on towards below, and that one is at 31.10.7. And then we have 141.17.4. Alright, from there we continue via BackMe at 27.53.5. And 147.58.2. Then we continue. After BackMe we got board down there. So board is at 24.17.7. And 154.15.0. Next up is going to be Bitter, and that's at 23.31.7. And 155.28.7. Alright, then we got Somo, and that's at 22.19.3. And 156.26. Cool, and that's the 9th waypoint that we could enter, so we can't enter anything further than Somo. That's good, and that is all saved. And you can see the red enough light is now illuminating, and our status is down at 45. Now, we can wait for this to go down further, and that's going to give us even higher accuracy, but that's basically up to us. You can see it's at 35 now. We're going to give it a little bit more time before we go to nav, so that we get the highest possible accuracy here. Now, let's go ahead and have a look at the Gunner 3 departure on the Navigraph charts. So that one is located right up here. It is an on-off departure, so technically speaking we can't fly it with an INS, but it's a fairly simple one, straight ahead to Gunner, and then from there basically a left turn direct to BPOP. So hey, let's just go ahead and fly that one using the INS, shall we? So, Gunner above 2500, then initial climb is an altitude of 3000 feet. So we're gonna dial that one up down here. Here we go, 3000 is selected, and yeah, that's basically our flight deck setup complete. So what we're gonna do up next is to get our departure ATIS, and then we can call for IFR clearance. And the ATIS is on 118.85. Well, let's go ahead and have a listen at that.
Instructions. Unknown drone activity on initial contact. Do you have information? Foxtrot. Advise on course heading. Altitude. San Francisco International Airport. Information call runway and hold short instructions. 1956 Zulu. Advise on initial contact. Arriving and departing.
Okay, I don't know why we hear two ATISes, but we've got information Foxtrot, we know that. So 118.2 is going to be the clearance.
1956.
And here we go, 118.2, information Foxtrot, and we are Clipper 817. San Francisco clearance, Clipper 817 Heavy, information Foxtrot, request IFR clearance to Honolulu.
Clipper 817 Heavy, cleared to Daniel K. Inouye via the Gunner 3 departure, then as filed. Climb and maintain 3000. Expect flight level 34010 minutes after departure. Departure on 120.9er, squawk 2472. Expect runway 28 left.
Clipper 817, clear to Honolulu via the Gunner 3 departure, climbing 3000. Expect level 340 10 minutes after, departure 120.9er, squawk 2472, expecting 28 left.
Clipper 817 Heavy, read back correct.
Okay, fantastic. So our IFR clearance is on board and is as expected, 3000. And then we've got 2472 on the squawk, like that. Fantastic. So the only thing that we couldn't get was the QNH, so I'm just gonna cheat with that, and that's 3004.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard.
Alright, here we go. 3004 is selected. The INS is basically done as well, so let's go in a nav mode down here. And one last thing, let's do waypoint change from 0 to 1. Insert, and look at the distance, 6 nautical miles. That's perfect, so that serves as a gross error check that our INS has aligned correctly. Alright, fantastic. So with that, all of our setup is completed, so let's go right over into the Boeing 707 app, onto the data cards. Refresh that one, and here we are. So we need 8,000 feet of runway. We have more than that available, so that's no problem. Then we can set our box, and you can see that this automatically sets our speed box as well as our thrust box. Fantastic. Lastly, we do need a stab trim of 0.4 units, so let's have a quick look over here. And 0.4 is got to be somewhere over here, huh? Alright, so that thing is set. Can also just make your life easy. Press set trim. See what we got there. Yeah, over there. Looks good enough for my taste. Alright, fantastic. So that stuff's done. Then we're basically good to go. So let's just say hello to our passengers. So the radios are controlled down here. Let's just... So HFs are off. UHF is off. VHF is now selected, and we want to transfer to VHF1, of course. Alright, cool. So let's say hello to our guests, and then we're ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. In the name of Pan American, I would like to welcome you on board of our Boeing 707 on our flight to Tokyo with a fuel stop in Honolulu. We're just finishing up our last paperwork. When that is done, we will start our engines and taxi out of runway 28 left, departing across San Francisco, which you'll be able to see on the right-hand side of the aircraft during our departure, as well as the Golden Gate Bridge. For now, thank you very much for being on board. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more comfortable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Thank you very much for your attention, and once again, welcome on board. Alright, let's tell GSX to prepare the position for pushback and departure, and then we're quickly gonna run outside here and remove the chocks, otherwise things are gonna get fancy. Okay, so that's done. They're finishing up down there, and we can make some good use of that time to read the B4 start checklist, please. So, cockpit preparation complete, emergency flaps off, Mach airspeed warning check, anti-skid checked and on. Rudder and spoiler switches on, emergency exit lights on, no smoking and seatbelt switches on. Compass controller mode switch SLA. Radio altimeters checked, yaw damper engaged, window heat low, pneumatic brakes checked. Flight instruments, altimeter and flight director are set and cross-checked. Compasses synced and cross-checked. Instrument transfer switches normal. Radio, radar and transponder set and standby. Start levers cut off. Park and brake set. Rudder and aileron trims 3 and 0. Battery on. Fuel 80,000 pounds set for start. And air conditioning units off. Holding down there. Alright, then let's call ground, get a pushback clearance, and then we're good to go. Alright, so that's gonna be ground 1 to 1.8. And if we're on it already, let's just tune 1 to 1.5 down here. Like that, and then we got 1 to 1.8. Like this. Alright, cool. And if we're on it already, San Francisco VOR should be 15H. Let's just tune that for reference. Alright, cool. Good, then we're ready to go. San Francisco ground, Clipper 817 Heavy, request pushback and startup.
Clipper 817 Heavy, pushback and start approved, tail southeast.
Pushback and start approved, tail southeast, Clipper 817 Heavy. So, transponder on, beacon on. Galley power off. And lastly, 1 fuel pump per tank. Like this. Alright. So that all looks good. Before start checklist below the line. Galley power off. Start pressure 40 psi. Beacon on. Before start checklist complete. Okay, ground from cockpit. Pushback and startup approved. Tail southeast and the parking brake is set. Roger that. Tail southeast and release brakes. Parking brake released. Thank you. Start the pushback and you're clear to start the engines at your discretion. Thank you. Start sequence is going to be 3, 4, 2, 1 and we'll begin with engine number 3 now. Now notice the automated flight engineer callouts as we're about to start the engines. So, engine 3 start.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Nothing happens, then I've probably forgotten the bleed air. So let's just switch that back off again.
17, heading to Daniel K. Inouye
Here we go.
International.
APU bleed air on. Let's do that again.
Estimated flight time
Engine
is
3
4
start.
hours and 50 minutes.
Engine start valve.
We kindly ask you
See?
to pay close attention to the upcoming safety demonstration, as it
United
contains
8101 ready to
important
taxi.
information even for our frequent
United
flyers.
15% N2 lever to start.
taxi
By
lane 8
inserting
Alpha
the metal
Foxtrot.
tip into the buckle and pulling the strap to
Runway
tighten.
28 left taxi via taxi lane 8 Alpha Foxtrot
Must
United
remain
8101.
fastened
Oil
whenever
pressure
the
rising.
seatbelt sign is
So the oil pressure is located back on the engineer's panel, not our problem.
and tray table.
Then at 40% the starter is gonna...
Position and open your window
Alright,
blinds
starter's cut out.
for takeoff and
50% we will have to advance the fuel from start into idle.
must be set to flight
50% N2
and
lever
larger
to idle.
devices should
Here we
be
go,
set
and that's a good
to
start on engine number 3. Let's start number 4.
and the use of any
And the pushback is completed, set brakes.
8128 request pushback.
anywhere on board.
Brake set.
United 8128 cleared for push and start.
Oxygen masks will drop automatically.
Push and start approved.
If needed.
15% N2 lever to
Mask
start.
firmly. Place
United
it over
8250 cross runway 19er right.
Secure the
Jazz 557, taxi to parking via Echo Bravo.
Look at that, the ramp agent is moonwalking.
Skywest 4802, push and start approved.
Alright, engine 2 start.
In case of evacuation,
Engine start
leave
valve.
all personal belongings behind
Request pushback.
and follow crew instructions.
JetBlue 116 cleared for push and
If
start.
any electronic device becomes hot,
15% N2 lever to
please
start.
inform a crew member right away.
United 8250 cross runway 1 right.
Card in your seat pocket contains all details. Thank you for your attention.
Oil pressure rising.
And we wish you a pleasant flight.
Starter release.
United 8128 ready to taxi. United 8128, runway 28 left
50%
taxi
N2,
via taxi
lever
lane
to
6A Alpha Foxtrot. Runway 28 left taxi via taxi lane 6A Alpha Foxtrot United 8128.
Okay, and engine 1 start.
Southwest 4219er cross runway 1
Engine
left.
start valve.
Cross 1 left, Southwest 4219er.
%15% N2 lever to start.
So if you hadn't realized yet, you got the 10s on the outer scale here and the 1s on the inner scale. So right now, for example, we'd be at 28% N2. You can see that the outer gauge isn't that precise. If you need the precise stuff, you gotta look at the inner part of gauge down here as well.
4219er cross runway 1 right.
50% N2 lever to idle.
Okay. So that's 4 good starts. You're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin, please, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Runway 28 left taxi via Alpha Foxtrot.
Alright, then let's move back here, and we are gonna
28 left taxi
close
via
those
Alpha
generators.
Foxtrot, Skywest 4802.
And that's all looking good. Alright.
116, runway 28 left taxi via
So,
taxi lane
APU bleed
3,
off,
taxi
APU
lane
generator
1,
is
Bravo,
off,
Foxtrot
APU
1,
off.
Foxtrot. Runway 28,
Then galley power on and fuel pumps on. Auxiliary hydraulic pump, and finally let's also turn on the bleeds and make sure that the packs are on. Okay, and last but not least, we're gonna start 2 of the air conditioning compressors, and here we go. Alright, that's it on the back there. And on the front there is actually nothing to do, so let's do the after start checklist please. And that's ground equipment clear, hydraulics, pressure and quantity normal, doors down here closed, after start checklist complete.
Runway 28 right taxi via Charlie, hold short of runway 19 right, Chancellor 7 Juliet Lima.
Clipper 817 heavy, request taxi.
United 1506, cross runway 28 left. Cross runway 28 left, United 1506. Clipper 817 heavy, runway 28 left taxi via taxi lane 9er Alpha Foxtrot.
28 left via lane 9er, Alpha and Foxtrot, Clipper 817. Alright. So, lane 9er, Alpha, and Foxtrot. Cool. So, taxi routing is understood, left side is clear, right side is clear.
United 812 cross runway 19er right.
Cross runway
Let's go.
right, United 8128.
I really like the way that they mounted the electronic flight back in here, because you can get your chart right into the main point of view on the main panel.
American 2814, taxi to parking via Echo Alpha, taxi Lanham. Echo Alpha, taxi Lanham, American 2814. United 1147, ready for push. United 1147, push back.
Alright, so we keep following Alpha. That's basically around the entire apron over here, and then that one leads us straight on the Foxtrot. So the right hand side is clear. Don't bother searching for a ground speed indicator. You could get it from the INS, but could also just taxi the plane like real pilots used to and simply look out of the window. Back then the rules on taxi speed etc. weren't that strict either, so that's, you know, not really stuff to wrap your head around too much.
37 Max, American 2814. United 1095,
Alright, cool.
cross runway 19er right.
So with that we're on our way, so let's go ahead and start a couple of procedures here. Flaps 14.
Ready to push.
So we're behind the American, but that's not gonna be any problem.
SkyWest 4802, cross runway 19er right.
Alright, and then we basically follow on to Foxtrot.
Chancellor 7 Juliet Lima, cross runway 19er right.
So please keep rolling American,
Chancellor 7 Juliet Lima.
but that should be sufficient wingtip clearance.
United 1095, cross runway 1 right.
Yeah, I'm not breaking anything here. That's the most important thing.
Moxie 229er, ready to taxi. Moxie 229er, runway 28 right, taxi via Golf Bravo.
So that's one left and one right over here that we gotta cross.
Runway 28 right, taxi via Golf Bravo, Foxtrot 1, Foxtrot, hold short of runway.
Alright, left and right are clear. Clipper 817, request to cross runway 1 left and runway 1 right.
Chancellor 7 Juliet Lima, cross runway 19 left.
Cross 19 left, Chancellor 7 Juliet Lima.
Clipper 817 Heavy, cross runway 1 left and runway 1 right approved.
Crossing 1 left and right approved, Clipper 817. Alright. So, strobe lights on.
JetBlue 116, give way to the Moxie 220.
We're clear on both sides.
Give way to the Moxie 220, JetBlue.
Let's go ahead and cross that runway.
American 1860, ready to taxi.
American 1860, runway 28 left, taxi via Bravo. Taxi lane 10, Alpha Foxtrot.
Runway 28 left, taxi via Bravo. Taxi lane 10, Alpha Foxtrot, American 1860.
So, let's talk about the taxi model. She does need quite a bit of thrust to start moving, and honestly, I'm not sure if that's correct or not. It's hard to judge. I've never flown a low bypass turbofan, but there are some parts on the manual where it says that the plane would have a rather high idle thrust. So yeah, pretty hard to comment on how correct or not this is. I don't have any inside information there. I don't happen to know any 707 pilot, as cool as it would possibly be. Maybe we should ask John Travolta. He used to own one of those. Or does he still? If you know, put it in the comments. Alright, then let's continue with our flight control track. So, full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and the rudder is responsive. We can clearly feel that. Alright, then let's turn the strobes back off again, as we have crossed that runway. So, engine anti-ice test.
Alpha Foxtrot, hold short of runway 28 left, all Nippon 7.
American 2814, give way to the Alaska 737.
I'm not sure if we should have gotten some green lights over here. I would kind of have expected it, to be honest. Let's see, do we need some thrust for that? Let me just add some thrust.
Runway 1 left. Cross 1 left, Moxie 229er.
No, doesn't seem like it. Well, since these are green lights, I would kind of have expected them to come on now. Alright, apart from that, wing anti-ice. Well, it's probably not going to test on the ground here.
United 1372.
But that's it then. Alright, cool. So we've done all that lovely stuff here.
United 1147.
The attitude warning test is not simulated, and apart from that, we've pretty much done all that good stuff. Good. So, ProPeat, it's gonna come on. Flaps are set at 14. Stabilizer trim is set and looks good. Alright. And in the back, that's all looking good as well. Okay, fantastic. Then we're basically good to go. It's a little confusing that the circuit open lights are illuminated, but they're actually supposed to be. Alright, cool. Taxi checkers, please. Or rather, before takeoff checklist down to the line. Missile anti-ice, off, ground start switches, off, yaw damper, checked. Window heat is on low, probe heat on, flight director, flight instruments, and radios. So that's actually something we can still do down here. So we're going to be moving off the nav mode. And note that nav means the IMS or the FMS. Vorlog would be your radio navigation. Okay, so speed brake lever, full forward, flaps 14, start levers, idly turned, stabilizer trim 0.4 units, flight controls checked, electrical, no lights except for the circuit open lights. And then galley power is on, fuel set for takeoff, fuel heaters are off, hydraulic pressure and quantity is check if you door open, light extinguished, flight deck door locked, takeoff briefing, and data. Alright, so it's going to be lefty takeoff, runway 28 left, flaps 14, noise abatement procedure number 2, and our takeoff speeds are going to be 137, 142, 158, and the initial climb is 3000 only, so that's fairly low. And note that we cannot pre-select any frequencies here, so we'll have to put the autopilot on fairly early over here, which we should probably do anyway, because it's an airplane that you gotta get used to. Just have that in mind. Alright, apart from that, we've got nothing special, nothing non-standard. Engine out, straight ahead 1 mile, right hand turn into the San Francisco Bay. And then we're gonna circle ourselves up to 4000, from where we can come back for a second approach. And that's it. Do you have any questions or suggestions? Nope. Alright, so that's a departure briefing completed.
SkyWest 5212,
Then the brake is set.
Cross runway 1 right, SkyWest 5212.
Clipper 817, ready for departure. Haven't got the tower hand off, so...
Clipper 817 heavy, contact tower on 120.5.
120.5, Clipper 817 heavy. San Francisco Tower, Clipper 817 heavy, ready for departure.
Clipper 817 heavy, San Francisco Tower, runway 28 left, hold short, you're number 2 behind the 737 MAX.
Alright. So, there is one guy still on the runway. I suppose once he's clear, the United is going to depart, and then it's going to be our turn. In the meantime, just look at that beautiful 707 over here. Nice to see the size difference between the 07 and the 37 as well, especially since, you know, you look at the front fuselage, it's pretty similar, isn't it? It's actually the same design.
United 1973, winds 250 at 10, runway 28 left, cleared to land.
Oh, more landings on 28 left? Really?
Land, United 1973.
Delta 902, contact ground on 112.8.
Ground for Delta 902, good day.
Well, at least we now know what the reason for the delays is over here. I mean, just use 28 right for landings, and get the departures out on 28 left, please. But anyway, guys, this is pretty much all the preparations we had to do over here. We're ready to go the moment that United is gone. Clipper 817, how long is the expected delay?
Clipper 817 heavy, no significant delay expected. Hold short of runway 28 left, you're number 2 for departure behind the 737 MAX.
All copied, holding short, 28 left, Clipper 817 heavy. Alright, always a good thing to ask, and always nice that the AI can actually do all of that. Nonetheless, guys, I am going to accelerate the video a little bit so that you're not sitting here for nothing. So, see you all when we're actually about to receive our takeoff clearance. Runway to the left, line for weight, Clipper 817 heavy. Alright. So, that was a little bit of a wait there. That was 3 more landings, but we've just got our lineup clearance here. So, the weather radar...
Heavy, runway 28 left, winds 260 at 10, fly runway heading, cleared for takeoff.
Fly runway heading, runway 28 left, clear for takeoff, Clipper 817 heavy. Alright. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Before takeoff checklist below the line, aircon and press. Is set for takeoff, transponder on, engine start control selectors are set, landing lights on, before takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so the instruction is to fly the runway heading, not the SID. But that actually makes our life a lot easier. Oh, and welcome to the USA.
Departure for United 8101.
So, would you be so kind to get off my runway, please?
Hold short of runway 10 right. Holding short of runway 10 right, Delta 669er.
Yeah, that guy must be misconfigured there, thinking that he's actually holding short.
United 1387, hold short of runway 19 right.
19R.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that guy thinks he's holding short, he's not going to move anywhere soon, so let's go ahead and get going here, shall we? So, the clock is on, let's go. So, takeoff thrust.
Setting takeoff power.
Check. So the flight engineer is setting the thrust for us. Just despawn that Delta. Go away.
D1. Rotate.
United 1387, hold short of runway 19 right.
19R holding short. United 1387.
Not the type of land and hold shot that I would expect, but hey, it works.
Positive rate.
You're up. Okay. So, flight directors in heading mode.
16 to 28 left, ready when able. JetBlue 116, winds 250 at 10, runway 28 left, cleared for takeoff.
Autopilot on, heading mode selected.
Rolling 28 left,
Like that, it's going to maintain the vertical speed and the heading that we've dialed up.
contact departure.
Over to departure, Clipper 817 Heavy.
Setting clock power.
Okay, so that's going to be a 1209, huh?
1000 to go.
Okay, pitch down.
Clipper 817 heavy, roger, Clipper 817 heavy. Contact departure on 120.9er.
Yeah, that's what I've just done. Local departure, Clipper 817 Heavy, passing 2,500, climbing 3,000 on the runway heading.
Clipper 817 heavy departure radar contact. Climb and maintain 4000. Maintain present heading. Direct gunner when able. Then own navigation.
Climb 4,000, direct to gunner, and then on navigation, Clipper 817. Alright, flaps up. So, direct to gunner, 8-point change, 0 to 1, insert, and nav mode is selected. Alright, and then we can climb to 3,000, so let's go ahead and dial that climb up.
817 heavy. Climb and maintain 12000.
I maintain 12,000, Clipper 817 Heavy.
NorCal departure. Good
Okay, 12,000 is set.
101, 10,000. United 8101, NorCal departure, roger.
Cool, so we've got flaps up, no lights. And then let's just make sure that we maintain the speed we are supposed to maintain here, 250.
Clipper 817 heavy, I need you below 250 knots.
Relax. Don't do that in the real world. Alright, cool. So you can see the flight engineer has turned the air conditioning on, and he's taking care of all of that now, so that we can just focus on flying the airplane up here. Now,
Clipper 817 heavy, traffic at your 12 o'clock 5 miles at 5,500, 737 max.
Departure, JetBlue
let's see, 5,000. Yeah, we're just going through that. Should be okay.
16, NorCal departure, climb and maintain 11,000.
Alright, cool. So we got 122 miles to the next waypoint, which is coherent with the gunner departure once you've actually overflown gunner. So Bebop should be on a 238 track. The plane is just turning to align itself with that track. Alright, like this. Very good. Cool, so the plane is climbing. Then we can quickly run back to the flight engineer station, verify that the differential pressure is building, which it is. It's at 3.0 and the cabin is climbing. That's the most important thing right now. Let's turn the temperatures to 75 Fahrenheit. And the rest is looking good back here. Level 360 is selected. Now that's 2000 above the level we intend to fly first. And that's all we need for the time being. Cool. After takeoff checklist, please. So, RDIs off, engine start control selectors off, no smoking seatbelt switches on, landing gear up and off, flaps up and light, hydraulic, pressure and quantity normal, air compressed, checked and set, after takeoff checklist complete. Wonderful. Now a very quick look at the 707's altimeter here. The steps of hundreds are clear, but the thousands are on that gauge over here. A little different from what you're used to from your standard aircraft. Let's also take a quick moment to talk about how the autopilot works while we're climbing here. So we're just going through 10,000. Let's go ahead and start accelerating. 119.475, clipper 817 heavy. Bye bye.
Dear guests, we are pleased to inform you that the use of approved electronic devices.
Brooklyn Center, clipper 817 heavy, passing 1000, climbing level 120. Alright, so to accelerate, we can just control the pitch wheel over here. And with that, we basically tell... and maintain flight level 200, clipper 817. Alright, so we are basically just using the pitch control wheel to pitch the aircraft in order to fly the speed we want. That's all the vertical speed controls we got here, next to the alt-hold switch that you have over here. So that's everything you have in terms of vertical speed control on the autopilot. For the laterals, normal speed, clipper 817. For the lateral navigation, you got the wheel over here. So this wheel has a couple positions. Manual means that the bank angle is controlled through the turn selector knob over here. 12 o'clock means wings level, and then you can bank it left and right using that knob down there. Then you got a heading mode where the airplane follows the target heading buck that you can set through here. So that's basically this one here. And then you have nav mode. Nav mode follows the INS or the FMS, depending on what you have in your airplane. VOR localizer is quite clear. Then you got glide slope auto and glide slope manual. Auto attempts to track the glide slope automatically, so that's one more mode of vertical speed control that you got available in the 707. And manual, well, you can use the pitch wheel to follow the glide slope. Well, and that's the entire autopilot. That's what you got there. One thing that's worth mentioning is that the flight director is not linked to the autopilot, so you got separate flight director controls over here. This one controls the pitch command, so right now it's set to 5 degrees. So the flight director is simply going to command 5 degrees pitch. And then you got the lateral mode here and altitude hold mode over here. And that's all you have. You got that for the left and the right side separately. Well, and that's it. So what we got to do here is this. When you dial the target speed in, you get that little flag on the left hand side here. We can see 300 is our current target. The plane is accelerating 310, so that indicator goes to the dot above the middle. So that's 310 now. So what we're gonna do is to use the pitch wheel in order to pitch the aircraft so that it flies the speed that we're looking for. This sounds rather complicated and like a lot of work at first, but believe me, 519 flight level 280, clipper 817. Set. But believe me, once you find your way around the airplane, it's simple pitch and power flying. The power is set by your flight engineer to the maximum climb thrust, and the pitch, once you have an appropriate pitch, will not need a lot of suggestions. You're about to see this the moment I speed this clip up for the cruise section of the flight, and you will notice that the airplane does not need a lot of pitch changes. Right now we're flying a tad faster than we should, which is no big deal, 10 knots faster, but when we get to higher altitudes, you will notice that it will eventually become a little bit slower, and that way it is eventually just going to find itself a proper position. Now, we do have the map meter on the left over here. Once we're reaching 8.2 in the climb, we're going to transition to a constant Mach climb, and we do of course have to do that ourselves down here, but that's literally just 1 or 2 notches on the wheel to pitch the airplane up a tad, and that's really all there is to this. Alright, that's pretty much everything that goes into this. So, we're about to reach the transition altitude here, so set standard. And standard is cross check, passing flight level 174. Now, checked. And going through the 180s, let's also go ahead and turn the lights off, the seatbelts off, and well, in a 1960s airplane, also the no smoking sign off. Well guys, and that's everything that goes into this. So for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight, and then I'll see you later when we start the approach into Honolulu. Alright everyone, we are descending towards Honolulu, and we're currently inbound Bambo, and thereafter from there we'll proceed via Throttle to Cocoa Hat, and from there it's going to be radar vectors for the approach. So, we have just passed the transition level, so let's go ahead and have a quick look at the weather down here. 040 at 14, gust 27, 31 degrees, 2909 3, so let's make sure that that is set. We're cleared down to 16,000, no further descent clearance for the time being, but then again we still have to fly all the way around the airport here, and the airport is located just over there. Now, that's our current situation. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about all the approach preparations and everything that's going to be in it for our arrival, and at the same time let's see if we can get any radar vectoring for the approach here. The Clipper 817 request radar vectors for the approach.
Clipper 817 unable to provide vectors for this approach. Proceed direct to the final approach fix and advise when you have the field or the approach in sight.
I'm sure. Okay. Doesn't matter. We see the field, we know what we're doing. So 08, that means 260 is going to be the downwind track, and once we're over Cocoa Head, we're going to turn it into a 260 over here.
Okay, 76, continue climb flight level 360.
Okay, so that's that. Then let's have a look into the approach chart. It will be an ILS approach to runway 08 left, which is kind of like the most commonly used approach here in Honolulu. Obviously, we cannot pre-select a lot because we still need the frequencies and the courses and stuff like that. But what we can do is to put 14.8 into nav2, and then we can at least use that in order to vector ourselves in. Since, at least for the time being, it seems like our air traffic control doesn't want to provide us with any vectors. Okay, cool. So let's switch over to heading mode. Then let's also go ahead and start a further descent over here. We are going to go down to, well, basically 3,000, so like all the way. We're in VMC as well, so we can descend below the MSA without any problems. Alright, cool. So we got that. Then let's go ahead and start our descent here. So Alt Hold Mode off, scroll down a little bit, and down we go.
Flight level 320, Alaska 968.
So next up, let's go ahead and have a very quick look into the approach that we are gonna fly. So we got 111.7 and 079. I think we can definitely set that up already. So that's 079 and 111.7. Like that. Okay. Cool, and the minimum was 214, which is 200 radio, so let's go ahead and put 200 on the radio altimeter down there, so that we do get a minimum call out. You got nothing based on the barometer over here, it's all just based on the rad alt. Then we need our landing speeds, which we are going to get...
17, descend and maintain 9,000, altimeter 29903.
Descend and maintain 9,000 and 29903, clip 817. Cool, so 2903 is set and checked. Alright, so let's go up on a landing, put that in, runway elevation is 0, and with that we need 5,600 feet of runway.
Approach 124.8.
124.8, clipper 817. HCF approach, clipper 817, heading 260, descending 9,000. Alright, I have a feeling we can expedite that descent somewhat. Yep, just making sure to stay outside of the... landing gear warning horn, and that is looking good. HCF approach, clipper 817, passing 12,600, descending 9,000. Alright, let's get some speed brakes here. Make sure we get down. So, are you gonna talk to us or not? What did they say? 124.8, that is what we tuned, isn't it? Yeah. HCF approach, clipper 817 heavy, passing 11,100, descending 9,000. Alright, and we're through the transition, so let's make sure we got those lights on and the signs
Clipper
on.
817 heavy, HCF approach. Good afternoon, Honolulu, altimeter 29903. Expect the ILS runway 8 left approach into Honolulu. Verify information, Charlie.
Altimeter 29903, expect ILS 8 left, and information Charlie is on board, clipper 817 heavy. Actually, are we a heavy? 707? Maybe. Right, 1,000 to go.
Clipper 817 heavy, descend and maintain 7,000.
Descend and maintain 7,000, clipper 817 heavy. Alright, so we are exactly abeam the field, 10 miles, in 9,000, so that's all easy.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Then we can retract
we are
those
now beginning
spoilers.
the final approach into Honolulu.
125.0.
Please turn
Maybe just help it pitch up a little bit. And that is looking excellent. Okay, very good. So the speed box are set for the approach, and everything is set up over here. No frequencies, courses, minimums, and that's basically all we're gonna need for this. Engineer's panel is set, cabin is descending, and looking very good.
Descend and maintain 6,000.
Descend and maintain 6,000, Clipper 817 heavy. Set, 6,000 checked. Alright, we might need a bit more speed brake, just to keep that speed under control, because the 707 has a lot, and I mean a lot, of idle thrust. Then again, it also has huge speed brakes.
280, vectors for the ILS runway 8 left approach. I am taking you out to lose some altitude.
Right heading 280, Clipper 817 heavy. Alright, cool. So that's pretty much all of that setup that we need for the time being. Then let's go ahead and have a look in.
Heavy, turn right heading 010.
Right heading 010, Clipper 817 heavy. Okay, 1000 to go.
Alaska 1098.
Speed brakes in.
Departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 7,000.
Okay, cool. Descent and approach checklist, please.
Alaska 1098.
Pressurization. Landing altitude 0 feet set. Anti-ice off. Coolant air valves open. Circuit breakers checked. Seatbelts on. Landing lights on. And EPR and speedbox are set. Alright, altimeters. QNH 2993 set and cross-check. Radio altimeter set. Flight directors, flight instruments, and radio set cross-check. Fuel is set for landing. Hydraulics press and quantity normal. Descent and approach checklist complete. Alright. Yeah, well, that's... Every time I pull the thrust into idle, I do get the landing gear warning. Alright, let's start reducing our speed down towards 200 so that we can make a rapid descent if it becomes required. We're leveling 6,000 right now, 18 miles from the field. And we're going through the localizer right now. Yep, there's the runway. So that makes sense. ATC is taking us slightly into the south. But I'm sure we're going to get the final vector like any moment now.
220 knots, set flaps 14.
Alright.
817 heavy, turn right heading 085, descend and maintain 3,000.
Right, 085, descend and maintain 3,000, Clipper 817 heavy. Set, 13,000 checked. Alright, hold off, let's go down. And flaps 14. Speed checked.
Clipper 817 heavy, 10 miles from Fig Tree, turn right heading 100, descend and maintain 2,200 until established on the localizer, cleared for the ILS runway 8 left approach.
Right heading 100, descend and maintain 2,200 until established, cleared ILS runway 8 left, Clipper 817. Alright, autopilot off. And flight directors off. Alright, here we go.
Glide slope aligned.
Okay, as expected above the glide, so speed brakes coming out. Then let's go down, let's establish ourselves. And most importantly, let's fly the approach manually, because that's how it is, like, the most fun. Gear warning. I constantly want to slam my thrust levers closed. But a little bit too early for that. Alright, we are slowly coming into the glide slope.
Southwest 2332.
You got some huge speed brakes on the 707. So if you need to get down, you absolutely can get down.
332, thanks.
But it's a huge amount of fun to fly this.
Alaska 1093, contact HCF Center on 126.5.
126.5 Alaska.
Alright, we are reaching the glide slope. And the runway is in sight. No, it's not the one straight ahead of us.
Localizer line.
Checked.
$1,000 to go.
Checked. Alright, and we're on the glide slope as well. Then let's start slowing down.
Alaska to 94, contact HCF Center on 119.9er.
Needs a bit of time to get used to the way that the airplane responds, so if I'm a bit sluggish...
Heavy, contact Honolulu Tower on 118.1.
1181, Clipper 817 heavy. Now he said heavy. Honolulu Tower, Clipper 817 established, ILS 08 left. Alright, this is full speed brake, guys. Very hard to slow down, so gear down.
Honolulu Tower, runway 8 left, winds 040 at 14, gusting 27, cleared to land.
Runway 8 left, clear to land, Clipper 817.
Gear down, 3 green.
Alright, now look at what happens once you have the gear down. I'm retracting the speed brake just now, and then just set those bucks again.
Set landing flaps.
Alright. So, flaps 40, and we have planned a flap 50 landing. So, set flaps 50. Now, look at this. This is what I call flaps. Huge things down here. Huge things. Alright, landing checklist, speed brake lever, full forward, spoiler switch on, no smoking on, landing gear, down 3, whoa, what's my speed doing? We're not below 1,000 yet, so we can fly ourselves back into the stabilized approach criteria. Just when you're below 1,000, and then you get completely out of it. But that's the problem, doing PF and PM work at the same time. I'll tell you what, we got the flaps, we got the gear, we're gonna do the rest. And just focus on flying here. So you can nicely use the fast-slow indicator next to your ADI now. That's nicely telling you the details of whether you're too fast or too slow, making it pretty easy to maintain the speed accurately, even though your gauge is not very accurate, just because of how small it is. I can nicely see my control column down there, and see how I'm acting on the plane. I don't know ground speed readout in front of us, but we should be doing somewhere about 130 knots ground, so that's about 700 feet a minute to maintain the glide. Every time you hear this sound, I'm adjusting my thrust. So just to give you an idea, you can nicely see the controls, you can nicely see the thrust levers. Get you a good idea of what I'm doing, even in these kind of weather conditions here.
300 feet.
The key is to try and maintain the yoke as neutral as possible, and really only do movements when it's absolutely necessary. Okay, continue.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
So, decrap. Fly it down. Here we are. Ooh.
Spoilers up.
Clipper 817 heavy,
knots.
Welcome to Honolulu. Contact ground point 9er.
Ground point 9er, Clipper 817 Heavy. Alright, would you be so kind, please? No, he's not. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Honolulu. Did you know that Hawaii is the only US state that grows
Oh god. Here's why you got 3 pilots.
flying with Pan Am?
Throttle, Clipper 817, request taxi to the gate.
Clipper 817 Heavy, taxi to Terminal 2, Gate E6 via Yankee. Good day.
Echo 6 by Yankee, Clipper 817, good day. Alright, well, here we are. So, let's just clean it up real quick. So we got this, we got that, and then we turn these off. Alright. So, weather radar off, transponder off. And finally, let's go to the back. Outflow valves should be completely open. But okay, not gonna bother with this right now, not while I'm taxiing the airplane. And then let's just go down here and start the APU. Okay, good. So, via Yankee to Echo 6, that's gonna be over here. Now, I guess that's gonna be our gate then. Yeah, Echo 6 right over here. Okay. So, GSX, Echo 6, no follow me. Handling by Unify. Alright. Very good, so we go basically right into the gate, making it about as easy as it gets. Cool, up here everything is set. Anti-ice has never been on in first place. Alright, so we've just got to make sure not to miss our gates. Not that. That. Alright, next to the Alaska. And here it says Echo 6. Fantastic. Okay, lights off. What was that? Okay, no comment. Here we are. Parking brakes are set. Then let's run over to the engineer, who's got the APU on, power on. Then trip, 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 and trip. APU, and just making sure that that thing is like really on, because if the fuel gauges read 0, that's typically not a good sign. Well, that should be closed. Nope, for some reason. Okay, it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and shut that thing down. So, we've got everything set up here, everything set back here as far as we can tell. So then, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Very nice. Engines are running down. Just one more quick check down here.
1126, request push and start.
Well, the APU gen should be on. It
Alaska
isn't.
1126,
Okay.
cleared for push and start. Pushback approved. Alaska 1126.
That's interesting, though. Now it seems to come online. At least a bit. Alright, well, I don't care. We do have ground power. That shall do the job. Okay, cool. Then we can shut that APU down. Then we're not gonna need it anyway. Alright, cool. So, back here, air conditioning is off, and the power is now set as good as we can. And then, fuel pumps. We should have the off pump on this side. Actually, no, the APU is going off, so we should have no pump on this side. And then going back up to the front down here. We can do one... Well, no, we don't have to. Let's go ahead and shut that thing down. Alright, cool. So, shutdown checklist, please. Electrical. It's on external. Seatbelts. Off. Emergency light switch off. Beacon. Off.
Alaska 1126, runway
Exterior
4 right,
lights set.
taxi via
Start
Golf
levers.
Alpha
Cut off.
Delta,
Park and
runway
brake set.
26
Fuel
right.
boost pumps off. AC aux pump off.
Runway 4 right, taxi,
Air conditioning
via
units
Golf
off.
Alpha Delta,
And that's the
hold
through
short of
flight
runway
shutdown
26
checklist
right, Alaska
completed.
1126.
Well guys, with that, welcome to Honolulu. This is where we are going to refuel the airplane and where we are going to catch up with a brand new crew. And that's gonna be our first flight on the Boeing 707. Overall, I gotta say, for a price point of, you know, $20, less than that, it's a fantastic airplane. It looks fantastic. It's a joy to fly. Now, it's obviously not perfect, as you've seen, a couple of things there. Or rather, a couple of things here and there, but I think for the price point, it's really, really fantastic. It definitely plays in a league far above that price. Well guys, I hope you're looking forward to our next sector as well. But for now, leave your comments underneath the video. As always, like, comment and subscribe. Let me know how you like the 707. And with that, I'm really looking forward to see you all again on the next one. Thank you very much. As always, like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.